the customers, let's say, are aligned here, right? The business is only going to be successful if customers can have. I imagine in a room, in a restaurant, in a business, that there's somebody there that's in a situation to allow me to stay protected in that environment. That's what I look for personally.
In other words, take your own precautions.
Yeah, and I go back to individual behavior is so important in making this a success.
Mayor, with respect to the testing and the numbers, and maybe this is a question for Dr. Peirce, the numbers continue to fluctuate. Yes, the curve is flattened. Can you speak to the backlog or what type of backlog we're looking at in terms of getting these test results in from the labs that are doing the testing?
The backlog is better than it was. For a while there, we were looking at 10 to 14 days. And with some of the labs, we're actually hearing within 24 to 48 hours, which is the way it should be. There are still others that are 5, 7, 8 days, which is a little bit frustrating. They understand that this is a problem for us and they're working internally to do it. And it tends to be, unfortunately, with the labs are doing the larger numbers. And so in particular, it's LabCorp and Quest Labs. And they're working with us, but it has improved, but it has time to go. And yes, you are seeing some of those fluctuations, but we're not seeing the fluctuations like you saw a couple of weeks ago when one day we had 600 cases. So we are seeing some fluctuations. So it has improved. It has really a way to go yet. Everybody's aware of it, and they're working on it.
So with restrictions easing up starting tomorrow as the economy continues to reopen in phases, how is that going to impact when we truly reach our peak here?
So that's a really good question. And as the mayor pointed out, and as we've said here before, is that in public health, we have found that when you make an intervention from a public health standpoint, it's about 2 weeks until you see the numbers change with whatever your intervention is. This virus, let's face it, this virus has broken pretty much every rule of viruses along the way here. So we'll see. We're about to find out. The other kicker to this question is not only going to be the lag in the testing and what will that play into this, as we're looking at basically an 18-day window that the mayor gave us from May 1st to May 18th. But in addition, I'm sort of projecting that in the beginning, the number of people that will be going to a restaurant this weekend will probably not be the same number of people who are going to a restaurant next weekend. I'm sort of anticipating that the public is going to change in its behavior a little bit as they become more or less comfortable going out. And so that may impact it as well. And we're just going to have to wait and see. We're going to try to track the numbers as closely as we can. And if anybody who works in a lab is out there listening, everything that you can do to get us the results more quickly is really important right now, and we really appreciate your efforts in doing that.
Thank you. Dr. Peirce, I'm sorry to bring you back here. The Houston Health Department is working with Rice University, I understand, to test wastewater samples for COVID-19. Can you just talk about, what the potential benefits of that project are, if you see that as a way to potentially make up for the lack of testing capacity?
So there are two different things. For everyone to know that we are working with Rice University, and it's our environmental health division within the health department, is testing wastewater. And so one of the things that we know is that this virus is shed in the stool. And so we're actually able to test the wastewater for the presence of virus. And there are actually ways where you can mathematically from the station where you're getting the wastewater, and you know where that water comes from, the size of the neighborhoods, the number of households, you can make an estimate as to what % of the population in that neighborhood or neighborhoods may have people who are infected. And so we're starting with this. We've got some early data. We're trying to refine it. It's not quite ready to be released yet, but we're trying to refine that. And one of the issues that we've got is that at this point, the geographic area that drains into where we're testing from would remain pretty large. And so we're moving forward with that. But that may help us once we refine that. Once we move forward, we may be able to identify geographic areas where we may need to, where there may not be as much testing going on, but if we're finding a lot of virus in the wastewater, we'll know. Now, if there's a neighborhood where there's a lot of testing going on and it gives us a value of whatever % that we think people are infected, the wastewater value should match that. So that's one of the things we're doing, because quite honestly, nobody's ever done this before. We've never really tracked an illness across a huge community like the 4th largest city in the nation, using not only testing of individuals, but at the same time testing the wastewater. So we're trying some new techniques, and we need to refine those before we can really hang our hat on what the results show.
And then Mayor and possibly Chief Pena, we took the orders tomorrow.
Yes.
Can you talk about whether or not the city ever issued a citation for violations of the restaurant bar closures or the stay-home order? And, what will be done about those businesses?
Okay, and I certainly want to acknowledge Councilman.
And what will be done by the businesses that break the rules?
That break the rules. So let me first answer your first question. We've had over 3,000 complaints that we responded to since the stay-home order began. We've issued 9 citations in that time period. So almost 100% of the time we've achieved voluntary compliance. Even very few notices of violation were issued. And so as we move to the next phase, when they start opening up, we're going to be deploying the same way as we're deploying now, based on complaints. And the inspectors on scene are going to have the latitude to ensure that they gain compliance with the 25% rule. We're going to be basing that on the established occupancy load for that business. The life safety code requires the occupancy load to be posted in these assemblies, but it is going to be difficult to enforce. Okay, and voluntary compliance is what we're looking after. The inspectors, again, on scene will make that determination, and as Mr. Odum mentioned, it's going to be about providing for a safe space for people to visit. And yes, personal responsibility is going to be huge. You walk in and it doesn't seem safe or that they're able to maintain the appropriate distancing, again, you're going to have to make that determination on a personal basis. And look, wearing of the face mask is going to be critically important. The virus is still present. It's still highly contagious. And what we don't want is to see another spike that's going to force us to take different steps.
Were those 9 citations, were those the bar and restaurant closures or?
No, we strictly enforce aspect of the stay-home order. So those were all bars and restaurants and those types. Yes, sir.
This weekend, or eating at a restaurant?
I will not be at the mall. I will not be at the restaurant. I'm going to be at my home, watching television, watching all of you.